Over and over and over and over and over again, Oda continues to do this. And the more he does this, the more I have to believe that there must be some underlining, deeper reason for this. And you must catch this too, because I got 20/20 vision.
Stop the cap.
I lie. Of course not. Without my glasses, I can't see the screen. You see right here? Dun, 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 dun. It's all blurry. All blurry, but even I can see that Oda is trying to tell us something. He's trying to indicate something very important here with a particular something. Okay, and I'm gonna start off with Roronoa. What? Why? Simple. Because if you don't know, now you know. In the episode preview for 1062, the narrator tells us that Zoro is coating his swords in apparently hellfire. The green wisp, the green embers on Zoro's sword is quote unquote hellfire.
Makes you think.
Now, to be fair, this could be Toei and the narrator gassing it up, embellishing on what that could potentially be. I don't know if Oda actually told Toei, hey, what Zoro's doing here is actually genuinely hellfire, but it is interesting that Zoro's embers on his sword and Brook's astral projection form, the green one, they have the same 3 green embers. Why? I have a video on that one over here. Boom. Aha, that's right. A video over here. Check it out. That did last year, because it is very intriguing as to what's going on here with Zoro, Brook, and potentially Hell in One Piece. However, it got me thinking, wait, hold on. Another ability that Oda, once again, is centering around fire. The key thing here, ladies and gentlemen, is fire, because there's so many applications in the world of One Piece centered around fire. Very unique applications too. So let's roll through some. Think. We do have, of course, devil fruit-related powers. There are some very wonky fire abilities around devil fruits, which makes a degree of sense because these powers are unnatural in many ways. However, in of itself, they are very, very strange. So at a baseline, Ace and Sabo, Mera, the flame fruit, relatively simple and straightforward when it comes to its usage, but at the same time, someone being fire itself, the actual energy, that is in of itself nuts. Just the intangibility of being said element. You are the fire.
I am fire.
That is very strange and ultimately just the tip of the iceberg. Then you have Big Mom / Mother Caramel. With their powers, they can put their soul into fire itself and give fire life. That of itself, giving fire life, actual sentience, is nuts. But maybe not as nuts as someone like Marco the Phoenix, because at least Prometheus burns. Marco the Phoenix has unique Phoenix fires, which at a baseline are flames of regeneration. He can use his blue flames to heal someone else's wounds, and of course, predominantly his own wounds. And we now know, after Wano Country, that Marco's fire can kind of snuff out and overpower regular fire because of the unique properties of the Phoenix fire, even though the Phoenix fire doesn't burn and regular fire does burn. Huh? Marco's blue Phoenix fire is weird as all hell. And what's also a blue sort of fire, you watch the anime at least, is Yamato's dog fruit model Okuchi no Makami. If you wanted to say that this aura is actually a different version of fire application, I'm cool with that too. But in this case here, it'd be fire that would freeze rather than burn. It would be cold flames rather than hot flames. The exact machinations of how that blue aura works are still unclear, but saying it would be a cold fire is, I would say, within reason, for sure. What we do know is that dragons like Momonosuke and Kaido, they have another weird application of fire called flame clouds. So taking more literally here, yes, they are clouds like flames, but also they could be the reverse here, where it's fire that operates as clouds that dragons can use as a foothold to move around the sky and also carry things, very large things like islands, however they want to please. And I'm starting to believe more and more that Kaido's flame drum dragon, I was wondering, how is he doing that? And I'm starting to think that he used the flame clouds he can naturally make as a pathway over his own body to apply his blast breath and kind of coat himself with a condensed super hot version of his own blast breath. So it's not confirmed just yet, but how else could Kaido like condense and form that sort of state, the flame drum dragon, which ultimately did lose to Luffy's Bajran gun. And come the tail end of the attack, why would Luffy? Fire. More fire in 10:49 makes his whole body Human Torch flame on, including that gigantic, stupidly huge fist. And seemingly this fire on Luffy's body is more powerful and or has more unique attributes compared to Kaido's fire. After all, Luffy is the sun god, and that does make a degree of sense. He most likely has the most busted fire in the series. However, there's also weird ways that fire is used outside of the devil fruit users. And one of the weirdest ones is, of course, King and the Lunarian race. They can ignite their bodies into flames. At times when attacked, they can create combustions and explosions, and they can create the fire waves that are so hot they operate like magma. All those fires I tend to call Imperial fire because King always says the Imperial thing before the attack itself. But King the Wildfire's fire is definitely unique, but the key thing here is that it's natural. It's not different related at all. As far as I understand, it's just a natural thing that his race can do. Just how potentially it's natural for someone like Kinemon to apply fire to his sword given the Firefox style. And Zoro in theory can do the same thing too, but so far only Kinemon can. Or maybe, potentially, in theory, possibly, right? The Firefox style is related to the green aura wisp around his sword, and they're green because of another factor, another reason, but the core reason would be, let's say, it's Firefox style related. And then, of course, there's someone like Sanji, who, like a Lunarian, can ignite his body at will, his full body, his legs specifically, and the root of that could likely be his DNA, his lineage factors, but at the same time, he can raise the temperature of his fire so hot it goes blue, and he's producing lightning, pure plasma on top of that. No Lunarian has done this so far. Sanji is the only person. So there's a lot of fire stuff going on in One Piece. And ultimately, the question is, why is it so much on such a broad spectrum? Like you're going to a restaurant and you have way too many food items to choose. You're there for 30 minutes just trying to pick out the appetizers. Yo, what is going on? Well, there are a few things that could be going on. Number one, Oda ain't creative enough.
That is blasphemous.
Now, to me, that sounds like help. Even though they are fire related abilities in some way, they are in of themselves so unique as to how they are structured. There are too many things with the spice, the heat, our Scoville levels are all over the place. It seems very unlikely that it would be Oda is lacking creativity. Number two, more serious stuff here. Fire production is more natural in the world of One Piece by living things than one would expect. So let's say think of bioluminescence, where some insects and some creatures, they can make their own light given their own bodily functions. It could be the same thing here, where people or creatures can naturally just make fire because that's how the world normally operates. And this could potentially tie to two things. One of them is an old take I had way back when, like I want to say 10, 11 years ago, about Sanji's fire actually being Haki. And it's something that Parvision on his channel has said repeatedly. Some people can genuinely generate fire and unironic lightning with Haki. Haki is the root source of that. So we have seen at times in the anime, let's say Luffy used the Thor elephant gun, and there's electricity on that. Is that hockey or is that genuine lightning, like in the same vein as Enel? The idea is that his Red Hawk was hockey related, even though it seems more like a combination armor hockey plus gear 2, but maybe hockey, let's say, also make his body combust, like in the same way that Sanji could, but Sanji does it all the damn time. And that's because his affinity for hockey is such, where he can actually just make fire at will. If you've watched Film Red, you know that Shanks in that movie can make a flaming sword. How can Shanks make a flaming sword? The idea is that because he's such a hockey stud, his hockey can get to the point where he can actually make genuine fire at will. And more things of Film Red as time goes on continue to be canon, like of course Garling and the Figa land family, which we will tackle later.
Oh,
but I do want to propose another option, a new option, one that is maybe calculated but could be its own thing entirely.
Tell me.
And this is in relation to the officially known as the Mother Frame. The mainframe, the thing that allows me to talk to you cats all around the world. That's right, baby. I'm a big fan of the Matrix. I take the blue pill. I want to enjoy my steak. Oh no way, King, I'm going red.
Really, nigga?
I'm wearing red, but I'm telling you, stop the cap.
Then we have a deal.
When push comes to shove, don't deny it, just supply it. The Matrix. Now, Mother Frame, aka Mother Flame, that is currently in relation to this weapon that is used to destroy the Lulusia Kingdom, is what I would argue also powers the entirety of Egghead Island. The same fire that Lilith talks about in chapter 1065. What powers the island? Fire. And remember, the Vegapunks, SSG, have always noted too that there was a particular energy source that they have been trying to duplicate for a while now, but they've kind of failed to do so. And that is the ancient energy. One of the key things that Vegapunk talks about is that energy is all around the One Piece world. It is freely abundant, and it's all about being able to take the energy and utilize it, actually harness it. Is it possible that people in the world of One Piece physically can also utilize the energy that is freely abundant across the entire world in unique ways? Like, for example, being able to apply it to one sword in the Firefox style. Let's say being able to apply it to your leg and even change how much of that energy that you can utilize to change the temperature gradient of said fire. And plasma, and potentially some races can use it better than others, like the Lunarians, where because of their natural lineage factors, their DNA, they can freely use more of the energy around them.
Maybe.
Can someone like Sanji swim? Yes, he can, but he has so many damn abilities, including creating fire at will, but he can still swim. But his power is way more natural than a Devil Fruit user. The same thing goes for a Lunarian. Even though we've only seen King the Wildfire and the Seraphim, and they all have different powers, in theory, a Lunarian can do all their crazy stuff underwater and swim just fine. The goddess of the sea for them only has love. The same thing will go for the Minks. As far as I can tell, the Minks can swim just fine. This you can all deem in the category as natural. Whereas the unnatural ones, the related stuff, the flame clouds and making fire alive and being intangible with fire and so on and so forth, these we now know to a degree come from something more extra dimensional, a different plane of existence. In chapter 1069, according to Vegapunk, where those with powers exist in a different dimension, dreamed up by someone else before them. So there is, I would say, some sort of link here between the natural and the unnatural, because I would argue that in order to get to the unnatural, that's just some sort of natural root cause there. And that's how I would argue that Vegapunk's theory isn't fully completed yet. Of course, on the right track, he's Vegapunk, and I would want to have that in the story without actually being of course mostly true, but I think there's still some things that are missing from that to actually complete that puzzle that he's building, this marvelous, wonderful puzzle. And I think that puzzle ties in his own dream, the dream of the energy that is all around them, the ancient energy that potentially people or things can naturally tap into. So that is all number 2. Number 3, which you can argue is kind of obvious, but at the same time, I think important. The themes. We can see over the entirety of the story that there are themes of course, light and shadow, sun and darkness. It was Ace versus Blackbeard. That was one of the key representations of, you can argue, the tussle of the D-Clan, where some members are not so cool and other members are awesome as all hell. They're lads. Ace, the lad. Blackbeard, he's kind of iffy. He's kind of sussy-wussy. And you have that darkness versus the sun. You can parallel that with Sabo, the Flame Emperor, versus the 5 Elders and Emu. Potentially shadow entity, Spooky Boogie. Particularly Emu. Oh, that's no good. Definitely no good. Emu ate the heat attack and just snuffed it out. He erased it in the void, the darkness, the abyss, the shadow, what do you want to call it. It's that tug of war, in some cases yin and yang, creation and destruction. A lot of times destruction is noted to in themes of darkness, whereas light with creation and life. The sun exists and that gives us life. On the first day, let there be light. Someone like Luffy, the sun god. What do we see recently? It's Rob Lucci. What did he poof into existence? He created goggles out of thin air. Creation and destruction. Someone like Blackbeard is a black hole, one of the key embodiments of destruction. You could easily argue that. Emu could be in the same vein too. Absolutely. Another thing too could, let's say, be freedom, the light, versus oppression, the darkness. Did you notice how in the last chapter of One Piece, Garling has these 2 government symbols on the side of his shoulder, and he has that moon-shaped hairdo, sleek, cool as all hell. But imagine viewing Garling dead on. You have that moon hairdo, the crescent moon, and then you have those 2 endpoints. If you think about it, if you look at Garling dead on, those 4 points would make the world government symbol. Those 4 points, north, south, east, west, and then you would have, of course, the middle, which is his face. That's right. That's right. So in a way, via his hairdo, the crescent moon, the 2 spikes, he is representing the world government, and how this organization 800 years ago created the what? The Void Century, starting 900 years ago. The void, in a way, being that veil of darkness, nighttime, moon, obviously, the veil of darkness all over the world. And the main characters have the task of undoing, let's say, that darkness. Arguably, it's very apparent, but I think that Garling is also another representation of those themes once again being manifested. There is this veil of darkness that kind of envelops the world, figuratively or literally. We're gonna find out in this final saga, but there are signs that fire utilization, particularly the natural one, I think needs to be brought to the forefront, because these things could be in lockstep with the mother frame / mother flame, with the flame that powers all of Egghead Island, and of course potentially the ancient energy. And when it comes to the opposite side of the aisle here, the unnatural ones, Luffy has a fire ability that he is yet to, I think, even comprehend, let alone scratch the surface of. It is the final saga. We're gonna find out in full what it means to be the sun god. And one thing we have to keep in mind too is that unlike the other Zoan ability users, Luffy is mythical Zoan for a One Piece specific deity, and that has got to mean something. Absolutely. Whether it's gonna be just tremendous raw power, or let's say the flames are the reason why he can even make goggles in the first place, like flames of creation. Whatever it's gonna be, we are going to find out in this final saga. Cannot wait. But let me know your stance on the subject matter at hand. If you enjoy your boys' content, make sure to rate the video with a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and click on that bell to join the notification squad. I'm gonna catch you cats on the flip side.
See you. Bye bye.